You've watched all the videos, you feel like you're doing everything right, but crate training still isn't working. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a few simple tweaks that you can make to your crate training that are going to allow your dog to be rested, relaxed, and quiet when they're in their crate. I'm Ken Steep, and welcome back to McCann Dogs. I'll place some timestamps beneath me here if you're looking for a very specific troubleshooting thing for crate training with your dog, but I urge you to watch this video in its entirety to help your dog to be rested and comfortable in their crate. The first thing I want to talk about is barking. Now, there's lots of videos on YouTube that talk about dealing with barking, just allowing your puppy to bark it out, and in some cases that will work. But if you've tried doing nothing and it's not working, then next up is exactly how you can teach your dog that it's a lot more valuable to be quiet rather than to bark. Something I had to do with Deegan, because she was really noisy when she first learned to go in her crate. I'd leave her for a little bit and then she'd start to make some noise. So I basically brought the crate into the living room with me, because that's often when she'd start to get really loud and start to object. So she'd start barking or something. I'd tell her, hey, knock it off. In that moment, that little distraction, that little distraction was enough for her to think, whoa, what's going on here? And when I had that break with her, when I had her recognize that she was being quiet, then I could praise her for that. And I could even reward her if I gave her enough time that she was quiet. If I saw her, if I give her that, hey, quiet, not you. It startled her, and she'd sort of, hi, cutie. She would sort of, okay, now you're just licking my face. She would, turn around and plop down, because she knew that, barking in your crate wasn't really acceptable. The moment she hit the ground, I would praise that like crazy. I really was there to help her, to really give her the information, like, this isn't what I want. This barking and noise and fussing and kicking, I'd knock that off. And when she'd be like, okay, fine, even if I had to do it 2 or 3 times, I would follow through, and I would make sure I was in a position where I could help her. So I would bring that crate closer to me to work through that. Now, something that I had to do as I transitioned, I didn't want her to always be beside me, and she was getting really good about not making noise, but once in a while, she would, kick up a little fuss if, she decided that she hadn't played enough or something that day. So what I did, in fact, is I took one of our long lines from training, McCann Dog Trainers training, and I put it on the end of a leash. And I had a direct line of sight with Deegan. She was maybe 15 or 20 feet away from me, and I was able to sit on the couch and whatever, knowing that I was planning on training. That was my expectation, at least. Knowing that if she was going to make a mistake, I was there to help her be right. So if Deegan would make a noise, I'd just give her I would just make a noise on the front of her door, or if she was in a wire crate at that time, I would, make a little rattle, and that noise would she'd think, well, what the heck was that? And then she'd be quiet. And once she was quiet for a few seconds, that gave me an opportunity to praise her. Good, quiet, good girl. And she very quickly learned that, as much as she would make a fuss, she wasn't rewarded for that. But when she relaxed, it really brought her into the right mind, the right state of mind, where she'd relax and lie down. And when I'd capture that, when I'd see that happening, yes, good girl, good quiet, and I'd get in there and reward her for it. Now,
can I just, I'm not sure where you're going to go with that, but this technique that Ken's showing you with the leash attached to the crate is also really effective if you have dogs that only bark when you leave the room, and then when you come back in the room, they're quickly very quiet again. A lot of dogs have a bit of separation anxiety, and they don't really care if you're going to come back and smack on their crate, because they get to see you. So that's enough for them. So, if you're around the corner and you just rattle the crate door with the long line and they're quiet, and then you can re-enter the room once the dog is quiet, that can be a really great way to make sure that you're positively reinforcing the correct things. So that's it's a helpful thing, because some dogs are great when you're right there with them, but we can't stand outside their crate their entire life. They have to learn to sometimes be in a crate when you're not there. So that can be a good way to bridge the gap and to teach the dog that if they're quiet, that's when they get to see you. That's when you're going to come back and praise and give them love. But, you're not just going to run to their beck and call each time they scream when you're not there.
Maybe you feel like your dog just hates being in their crate, and that may actually be the case. It's all about how you've introduced the crate to them. So This next section, Kale's going to show you exactly how to build some value using some shaping exercises for your dog being in their crate, and to teach them that being in their crate is a really rewarding experience.
So when I get a new dog, for most of their actually life, but depending on how many dogs we have, they get all of their meals in their crate. So breakfast, dinner. So what starts to happen is I start to even put the kibble in the door, and the dogs will actually start to go into their crate automatically because they are learning that if they want their food, they have to go in their crate. And that's a great way to teach them to go in and out of their crate really easily. But to get them to go in the crate, we just play a couple little games. Okay, so one of them is really easy. I just take a couple of her treats, and I'll just hold on to her, show her some food. Okay, get it. And just throw the cookies in the crate. Okay. And then I do this. Okay, babe, here. And I let her come out right away again. So she doesn't have to stay in the crate. I don't shut the door initially. It's just go in. Okay, get it. Get your treat. Okay. Come on out. Beeline. She doesn't want to come out because she knows she's going to get rewards. In your crate. Yes, good girl. So I can throw some treats in there and then have her come out. And then the second thing that I'll do is I'll play a shaping game. So this is sort of like a little hot and cold game. Now, this isn't going to be a great demonstration because she's already figured out to go into the crate. But initially what happens is if she looks at the crate, for example, I would yes and reward. If she steps towards the crate, I would yes and reward. And I sort of work my way until she's offering to go in and out of the crate. And if she's a little bit hesitant, rather than yesing and rewarding her in front of the crate, I might even reward her by throwing the cookie in so she kind of has to go in and get it, and then I let her come back out again. Yes. Good girl. Okay. Peabody. Yes. Good girl. Okay. Yes. Good girl. Okay. Good. Now you'll notice that when I want her to come out, I'm saying okay. And when you have a puppy, they probably won't know this yet, but the next thing that I teach the dog, or maybe not the next thing, but one of the things that I teach the dog is that I want them to remain in the crate until, where should I be looking right now?
That camera.
Okay. They need to remain in the crate until I release them, and that's so that if I open the door, my dog doesn't come barging out, into a bad situation. If they're in the car, maybe if they're just in the house and they're wild and crazy. So we have house lines on the dogs while they're in the house. So I would hook her up, and then I would tell her okay, and then I would let her come out from there. So here's just a couple things that I would do. I also play around with how I feed the dog. So I've been throwing the treats in the crate, yes, but I also could look. Yeah. I could just put my hand in the back of the crate. Okay, in the crate. Yes, good.
And this is really helpful because it builds value for the back of the crate rather than her being rewarded at the front.
Yes, good. Okay. Yes, good girl. Nice. Okay. So that's just sort of the in your crate kind of game that we do. That's a pretty common one.
Sometimes teaching your dog to have a little bit of self-control can be a really valuable thing, and we often make the mistake of allowing our dogs out of their crate when they're barking or they're really excited, or showing up at home and allowing our dogs to immediately run out, and we're showing them that all of the value is when they come out of their crate. Well, in this next exercise, we'll show you exactly how to teach your dog to be rewarded by keeping calm and cool when they're in their crate.
The other thing that I'll start to do as well is I'll work a little bit on teaching her to not barge out of the crate, and this sort of builds value for when you're trying to teach your dog to be comfortable going in the crate with the door shut. Now when I go to feed her breakfast or her dinner, I put the bowl in the crate, I shut the crate, I let her eat. If she's comfortable in the crate, I can just leave her in there until I'm ready to take her outside, or sometimes after she's eaten, I'll actually let her out right away so that she's not contained in the crate for a really long period of time. It's like she goes in and out for short bursts that are very, very positive. Good girl, baby girlie. But then what I'll start to do is I'll shut the door. Good girl, yes. And I'll pop a couple cookies in there. Yes, good girl. And then I can start the training of teaching her to remain in the crate until I release her, even when I open the door. Hey, knock it off. You guys just relax. So I have some treats here. What I'm going to do is open the door, and if she tries to come out just all on her own, I'm just going to shut the door back again, so that I want her to basically understand, you barge out, you don't get to come out. And when she maintains her self-composure and she remains in the crate even when I swing the door open, of course I'm going to reward her and let her know how much I love that. you're sneaky. Get back in there, you turkey. Yes. Yes, good. Yes, that's so good. Okay. Try again. Good girl. Yes, good.
And you can really see Beeline putting this together.
So smart. Okay. Yay! Now, she's played this before, so what I can do is make it even harder on her. And again, this is just playing little games. Oh, yes. Little games that teach her that the crate is a good thing. So I have this food bowl here. Yes. Good girl. Yes. Good.
So what Kale's doing is essentially, giving Beeline a distraction.
Yes.
So she's forced to choose whether she leaps out of the crate to get it or she remains in the crate. And when she does remain in the crate, she's rewarded for that to really, reinforce the idea that the crate is where all the value is.
Another really specific question we get on the channel is about barking when the door closes, if your dog barks as you're closing the door. So next up, I've got some quick tips to teach you how to stop your dog from barking as you're closing that door.
With a dog that it makes a lot of noise when they're in their crate, but it's only when you have the door closed, you can try a shaping exercise with them. So Kale showed you guys a great exercise to do with your dog about them not barging out of the crate. So start there. Build value on moving back into the back of the crate, being rewarded in there. And even if your dog, isn't really excited about taking those treats, I'd offer two suggestions. Number one, try this exercise at a feeding time so that they're a little bit more hungry. And the other one is you're going to use your voice. You're going to use praise sometimes. That's going to be, for some dogs, equally as valuable. But treats is a pretty common currency that dogs understand. And that's why we suggest in a lot of these exercises to use treats. But for a dog that goes crazy when you close the door, I would do the same thing that Kale was showing, and I don't have a puppy in here. I don't really need one. But I would start to close the door, and as it gets close to being closed, if they remain quiet, yes, I can open that door and feed my puppy. I can close this door, and once they remain quiet, I can, praise them, and feed them. If they start to make some noise, hey, quiet. And then the moment that they finally go quiet, that's better, good, quiet. Maybe I can drop a treat in there. I can praise them. I can really acknowledge the moment that they're correct. And it's really what I'm doing is, your puppy may be self-rewarded by barking in their crate, or they may be, just frantic and they want to get out of their crate. But it's really important, if you're trying to crate train them, that you really show them the value of being rested and relaxed and calm inside their crate. And that's one way that you can do it. It's almost a shaping exercise. And instead of barging out, which Kale showed you how to prevent earlier, you're doing the exact same thing with barking if the dog barks only when the door is closed.
Now, all of the videos I make on our McCann Dogs channel are for you. So if you've got a question about crate training, drop it in the comments below. And if you still have some crate training troubleshooting questions, make sure you check out episode 2. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every single week to help you to have a well-behaved four-legged family member. On that note, I'm Ken. Happy training.